All right, guys, this is the second part of the first that first video, the long video. This one should be much shorter, guys, but this is important how we can, like, first I explained the price action and how they're controlling it, and I'm gonna also tell you how that it ends eventually, relatively, hopefully soon. And KJW again. So the price setup or the model setup is lawful, but the regulations are loose, if that makes any sense. And that's why they're tightening up all these new rules that are coming out soon, as far as transparency, the swaps, probe, and all that stuff, because it's there's nothing that anyone can do about that. Because and here's the thing, some people might even ask another question that I didn't answer in the previous video. Well, how, if since we bought all the shares, how are they able to, like the brokers, how are they able to get their hands on more shares to sell? Well, again, this is a crazy long video to explain, but I'll give you a short little explanation. One, there's the DTCC buyback program. So this is how they create FTDs. The market maker creates FTDs. They go to the DTCC buyback program. They get one share, they give it, and then the other one that stops the call on that share, and then the FTD is created, and now it's longer, more and more and more. So those don't go nowhere, guys. This is part of the solution that I'll get to in just a little bit. So that's one way. The second way is they pay premiums to who, the BlackRocks and the Vanguards and the big institutions up there, or these teacher funds, or whoever it is. Again, guys, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm just throwing my guess. So who knows if this is correct or not? I'm just throwing out my thing on my personal little channel. It's my opinion. It's not financial advice. I'm just an ape from the community of apes. So yes, so they go to these institutions and teachers funds and all those that have been tripling and quadrupling and maximizing their positions in these stocks, whether it's synthetic or real shares that they're getting, and they get those shares temporarily to dump them out on the market. But then, since not all of them are obviously being sold, that's when more FTDs are recreated and they're basically given back to these people. Because here's the hope that each broker lives every week. The hope, obviously, and this is the diagram as I see it, has been sold out to them. This is what's been sold out to them. Market maker says, don't worry, we're going to make money. You're going to make money because you're making all your fees on, selling and buying and selling and buying. Not all apps are free, and not all brokers are free, but the ones that are free, you know what they're doing. They're selling us for payment for order flow, to get that same amount of fees, to get money anyways. So it's just as equally evil and even worse. So like they get those money, they're satisfied with that. So the broker is satisfied with that. The market maker is obviously making ludicrous amount of money because, and he gets to cover himself and gets to keep the market patched up to the point where he is not, like tied up, like the noose is not tied on his neck. And eventually, I personally think that he would get out of this. Like all these probes and all that was coming out, think it's not working to our advantage. I hope so. I hope I'm wrong. But eventually, when it comes out, I don't think he's going to be the face. I've said it numerous times in my videos before that they're just right now preparing a face for the fall. And it's looking like it's that Melvin guy. It's looking like it because it's just looking like it. The disappearance of, whose shares aren't going to somebody else's, somewhere else, and they're no longer holding short positions. They ain't going nowhere. It's not like they vanished. They were just transferred, guys, from someone to someone who's doing somebody a favor, I guess. And I think Lou called that one out, and he could be right, he could be wrong, but it makes sense to me. But a guy of that pedigree can't go out. And the reason why I double down on I don't think he's going anywhere is because look who's part owner of the new implemented being implemented system, aka the Robot Godzilla IEX system. That's the Boston sales, Boston market. Citadel is one of the three entities that are part owners in that venture. So you think someone like that is going to be in something that's about to be implemented newly to be kind of a new market maker that has a risk on them for that? Think of it. When an official goes to get elected, whether for presidency or for Congress or run for Congress, you don't think they run a background check on this guy and they make sure that he's not going to be a problem later? Unless he does something like a scandal, like, some sexual assault or some allegations, some I don't know, Epstein crap or some shit. They do all that before. They're not going to put someone in that seat and then be like, oh, well, 2 weeks later, he's going to prison because he got caught in this probe. That's just my thought process, guys. As much as you guys would love to see someone or some individual go behind bars, I don't think that's just kind of the way that it's going to work out. I hope I'm wrong, or I hope I'm right. Who knows? It's just an opinion. So if it makes any sense, it makes sense to you. It makes sense to me. So like the rules for the options were just loose. What they were doing was lawful. It's just the regulations were loose, and what they have, the way that they went about it was obviously the loose regulations led them to take advantage of it, and obviously do the thing that I explained to you in the first video. Buy. A lot of calls close to the out of the money price, leading the momentum of the market to go up, and start selling from the top down from your calls. That way you're making money, doubling, sometimes even quadrupling on your profits every week. And then doing the same thing on the way down for puts, or vice versa, depending on which cycle they want to use in the beginning of every week. You could see it normally on the end of the week by Friday. That's when you see them taking their positions for the following week. So it's obviously nothing is 100%, because again, they're not just going to make it that. I know it's not that simple, what I all explained in the first video and then even now, but it's not as simple, but they will always change it to, it's easy for you to see in the beginning of every week which they're going to use. And that's why I put those predictions for me, myself, earlier today in that video of where it's going to go or how high it's going to go this week. And why do I think those prices are going to come to fruition, while a lot of people think, that it's just going to tank, or they just go with what they see come. And then they start reporting some random articles like, oh, look at this. Alpha Seeker says, we're going to boom and we're going to get boom candles. Again, not knocking anybody's hustle, guys, or any of that. I think that I told you before in my previous videos as well, like the very early videos, that in order to be a very, 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 very successful investor, you have to keep your eyes everywhere. Keep your ears open at all times. That way, when you hear this person, you hear that person, you hear that person, each one could provide something that is useful to your strategy or to your thought process, without you having to take everything they give out. Like, you don't have to download everything they say. You can just take certain files. In matrix language, you can take certain files from what they're saying and add it onto your program. Eventually you'll come up with the Godzilla program of trading, and that's one thing I think that hurts the retail community, and that's why there's a lot of division on those price brackets and all that stuff, is because majority of the community, and this is not looking down or anything, no one, none of us started with knowing everything. Like, you have to work your way through it. I've told you in my other previous videos, like how over the years, I even got mauled back in the days, and how you learn, eventually you'll develop a sense of understanding to the market sentiment. And when you start seeing that sentiment, this is way different than a chart and technical analysis. Like that you can learn as well. But the most important thing for an investor is the gauging of the market on your own. Think Warren Buffett sits around all day long looking at a mouse that he barely can see at his age, and like literally like, okay, it looks like we're gonna touch down to that $22 and then we're gonna bounce right off and have a reversal at the boom boom candle here. Like, no. Obviously, he has a lot of people working for him to do that, but he's the greatest trader because at the end of the day, he's the one who makes the call. He says where to go and what to do because he gauges the market. He's been in it for freaking what, 65, 70 years, whatever, 50 years. So he developed that. And all of us, all of you can develop this if you keep your eyes open everywhere, look at everything, and keep your ears open to everything. If it's BS, you know, you heard it all, then you throw it away. If it's not BS, some of it is BS, you throw the BS out and keep the good. That's the way you develop a perfect trader's mindset and a strategy to help you in the future reference like plays. So unfortunately, that's what I think the community is battling and suffers from, is that they don't have their conviction because all what they did from the get-go was follow along and YouTubers of these YouTubers. And now that those YouTubers are leading them astray, now they're all falling off the cliff left and right and don't know where they're going to land. It's like a free fall. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, guys. That's very, very unfortunate. So we have to all learn. That's why in my videos, I'm actually explaining to you. I'm not just talking down to you like some other YouTubers are talking to you and telling you like, I've done this for so many years and I know what I'm doing. I'm just telling you, take it from me. This is what it is. Well, what kind of shit is that? Like, like the person wants to learn. They don't want to be tied up to you for life. I mean, the order of life in general, it's a cycle. It's a cycle. Our parents die. We eventually die. Our kids die. You know, that's just the way it is. Their kids eventually die. And after, you know, like that's just the cycle of life. Like you have to keep passing the info. You can't hold on to something if you know it and not pass it, because with you or without you is going to come. But what can't come is when the individual themselves, like the community itself, does not seek the answer and does not look for it. Don't just follow, guys. Look for it, seek it, go after it. That way you can learn how it's done, and that way you can keep, like, you can know when something is BS and you can just dump it out, or when something, okay, no, that makes sense because I know the fundamentals of how this works, and this person is saying things that are within those fundamentals. You know, someone and me and you can, you know, have a different, like the same equation of math. We can have different ways to how we got to the answer, but if we both have the same answer, that means we both are correct. Now it's up to me to know what you did or what you did differently to get to the answer, and it's for you to know what I did to get to know the answer. Now we both know both ways instead of just knowing one, and that's what I'm trying to push more and more. So guys, please like the videos. That's the only way that we can push it out to more people, so that we can get more people to develop this kind of mindset and this kind of conviction into these plays, and that through these likes. And obviously the views come when those likes come. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't. 99.1% views the videos, whether view it or like it, but they're not subscribed. So subscribe to the channel, guys. Let's get this going, because I have a lot of other stuff to share with you as far as how we could solve that situation with the option chain, like, you know, how that gets solved out, you know. So if you want me to make that video, well, no, why would I say that? I'm not stalling you guys. I'm gonna make it right. Like, no, we're not ending this video right here. I'm gonna say it right here, right now. If you could watch 2-3 extra minutes, good. If you can't, I'm sorry. Might as well have it all. Like, you know, they say hit the metal while it's hot. So the option solution to that is, one, I've mentioned one part, which was solving the regulations, and they're tidying that up. Now the problem with that, and here's the thing, here's why there's like people that are gauging like, oh, when moon and all this stuff. No one knows when they really like the regulations are going to pass everything. Like everyone is sticking their nose now for that March 3rd. You don't think that these institutions and everybody is preparing for that too? So it could at any moment come out and say, we're going to not put it out now. We're going to give an extra 45 day. They've done it many times before. The SEC have reneged on publications of some regulations before, and they would just postpone them another 30 days or another 45 days for further commenting purposes. What can you do then? Then March 3rd is nothing. Now, here's the other thing that will solve this fundamentally. So the regulations are going in to prevent things that was happening now to happen again in the future. They're not to help this play, they're to help the future. Terminator style. So these regulations, I believe, are going in to help. That's why when they pass, I don't think is relevant to when the squeeze happens, because the squeeze is going to happen in the second reason that I'll tell you to solve this. First, when they pass these regulations, the future will not have to worry about this crap anymore. Overly sold synthetics that eventually will jump or dump down in the government's lap. That's one. Now, the second solution to this is a fundamental solution, which is liquidity. Here's what happens. When all these market makers and those brokers are constantly selling and over leveraging themselves, sometimes, and hear this out very carefully, selling calls and or shares that they don't personally possess, which we know we match in this in that category, then eventually when there is a lack of liquidity, if any position comes in to over leverage them, like when the market is red. Why did you think I said in my previous 2 videos that I said that when the redder it goes, the better it is for us, because the more that they're hurting in their other stocks, we're holding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions. They're holding all over the board, and if everything is going down, their money is going down. But what they're doing this week and last week and the week after, and what they've been doing for the last few for the last months, almost a year and a half, was making money on the option chain. They're just being controlled drop off, controlled lift up, controlled drop off, controlled, like basically controlled pump and controlled dump. That way they don't fall underneath a certain percentage that will eventually get them marginalized. Now, eventually, them not being able to continuously keep doing this throughout the whole sector, the buy and hold is the same that we're using, the category that we're using is the same thing that they need. Now, we buying helped them out a lot because it helped give them some liquidity to constantly keep paying for that short interest to basically push the squeeze off a little bit more. But that's not enough. It's kind of like eating and, you eat a slice of pizza and it's like for lunch and you're like, I'm still hungry. I don't know, a guy like me, I can eat, like I need at least 3-4 slices before I can continuously say that I'm full, So eventually it's going to take them, what they're doing now every week and week out is that they're going ahead and, fulfilling their needs, but not their wants, just barely enough. They've been racking up money, some of them taking the rest and stashing it because they know it's inevitable, that moass is inevitable. What they're trying to do right now is make sure that you take less money for what you want, and eventually, like what you bought, take less money for it. And when they do that, then they're like, okay, we've accumulated enough. They're okay with this number. We came up with a profit. Some of them comes out with a profit, and a lot of other retailers lost. That's their end goal. But like I said, the second one was to let them keep going through this situation where they are selling these calls, buying and then dumping these puts and buying and all that stuff. And it's giving them some money, but the regulations that are coming in tighten up a little bit from that side, even though it's not going to enforce the moass, but what will eventually And my final thing, my third fundamental reason that will force the moass is liquidity crisis. Unless they get liquidity and any pumps from the government again, there is no absolute way for them to have any possibility to make any money, like to keep pushing this further and further, because eventually the market itself is losing, which means the economy itself constantly keeps losing. So we buy and hold, that's a category for us, that's our model. They keep sell and buy and hold, that's their slogan as well. So at the end of the day, it's going to come down to who's going to hold longer and last longer, basically. So it's just a matter of time, guys. We just have to outlast them. And when we do get to that point, when you have the jugular right within your grasp, then you need to make sure that they don't get up once again. Who am I referring to? No one. Again, this is an entertainment channel. I'm just an ape who's thinking funny. You know, I'm using metaphors and similes and all that stuff. So much love, guys. Please subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and if you have any other questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. And much love to all of you, the family.